Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to be talking about my feelings about Final Fantasy VII the Remake and just my feelings about Final Fantasy in general. I've actually tried to record this video several times, so this is going to be a new attempt of no cuts, just me talking about the Final Fantasy series. Okay, so in my last video I talked about all of the games 1 through 10 and then a little bit about the games after that. And I got some comments saying like, why do you even play these games if you don't even like them? Which I feel like is a really wrong, perception of me. I was a huge Final Fantasy fan, especially 7 through 10 and 10-2. And then even when 10.2 came out and there were some haters because, the tone kind of shifted a bit, I was there to defend Final Fantasy X-2 because I love turn-based JRPGs, and at that time, Final Fantasy was like the #1 turn-based JRPG powerhouse. And little did I know that, it wasn't going to be me leaving the Final Fantasy series, it was going to be the Final Fantasy series leaving me. Even when they announced Final Fantasy XI that it was going to be an MMORPG, I was a little bit annoyed, but I was like, you know what, it doesn't really matter because, eventually 12's going to come and we'll get another turn-based JRPG. Wrong. They, changed that into a weird kind of action RPG type thing. And then from then on, all the games have just completely moved away from turn-based. And to me, that's not fair. It would be kind of like, let's take Mario, for example. The original Mario games were platformers. They've had spin-offs like Paper Mario and, Super Mario RPG, where it's like, turn-based, but that never took over the main series. Whereas with Final Fantasy, the games were turn-based, and now they've become action-based. So it just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't make sense. Someone make it make sense. So this is why, now, if people ask me my favorite series, I would be like, Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing, and Story of Seasons. Because these game series, they never radically changed, physically, fundamentally, what they are. This is a strategy RPG. It's always going to be a strategy RPG. It's not suddenly going to become something that it's not. So for me, Final Fantasy XI onwards, it's like they're not Final Fantasy. So that's me. I love turn-based JRPGs, but this series kind of left me behind. However, what's my one last shred of hope? My one last shred of hope is that they'll do remakes or remasters and things of the original games. Final Fantasies 1 through 10, with the exception of 7, they've all had a bunch of re-releases where they'll change the sprites. 1 through 6 have been released so many times, on the Game Boy, on the PlayStation, their original versions. Now we're getting the pixel remasters. If we look at 8, they just had the HD remaster. 10 and 10-2, they got the same thing. How about Final Fantasy VII? They announced, first of all, they had a tech demo that everybody thought was going to be the new game. But then they're like, nah, just kidding. Actually, it's not a real game. It's just a tech demo. Slap in the face #1. Then finally, they announced that they are actually making a Final Fantasy VII Remake. Get my hopes up again. Then, once they announced that they're turning it into an action RPG, I was slapped in the face yet again. Just like the Pokemon move double slap, that's what Final Fantasy VII Remake feels like to me. First, they tricked me into thinking that it existed in the first place, and then, when they finally announced that it actually is coming, then they announced that they're changing the style of the game and making it into an action RPG, which, I don't like action RPGs, which I've said many, many, many times. So, yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake, from the beginning, it's just, it's really made me angry. If they had made a turn-based JRPG like the original was, and the remake should be, then I would have been there day one. I would have bought an expansion pass to, play each chapter as it was released. I would be their #1 fan. But the fact that they made it into an action RPG, just completely killed it for me. I mean, there are other side things the Final Fantasy VII Remake does incorrect as well, such as the tone is a bit off, and then slight spoilers for the game, but the game itself, it's not even actually a remake of the original. It's kind of almost like a sequel of sorts, which, then why is the game called Final Fantasy VII Remake? It makes me so angry. And so I've gotten so angry over this game so many times. I mean, I'm pretty much over it now. It's just because, people had requested that I make this video. So that's why I am posting this video. Okay, so after this video, I'm going to try to go back to, being happy-go-lucky, posting about games that I like. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get this video off of my chest. So to recap, if you have a game series, don't just randomly, suddenly change the style of game that it is. I don't think any other game series is as bad as the Final Fantasy series in that sense, that they've changed like the core game that it's supposed to be. Yeah, so I also have zero interest in Final Fantasy 15 and also Final Fantasy 16. To me, like, it's not Final Fantasy. It's not. It's not Final Fantasy in tone. It's not Final Fantasy in gameplay. It's not Final Fantasy to me. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.